Welcome back to Granja Caimito in the Pedroche Valley of Andalusia, Spain. Spring is in full action and we continue to receive some rain. It's a shower here and there, it's not a continuous rain anymore, but it fills all the different water holes that we have. This here used to be a road. Now it's part of this paddock. We talked about those brassicas in the comments of an earlier video, and this is how it looks like. So they have grazed off everything else and the brassicas are standing. Now they are still over there and they're moving. They want a new paddock. And of course there are some around here, like here on that side. And I am going to give them something, because what they really want to eat at the moment is grass, and they should. And as I expressed in the comments, I believe that they will eventually also eat the brassicas when the time has come. So let's see. We are not going to do any manual work here at the time being, because the idea is to let the animals do the work. So basically let nature sort it out. So we won't touch this. And in the next round, maybe then, they will then eat the brassicas. The next round is going to be between 30 and 45 days away from today, so we will see how this looks like by then. This here, by the way, is cow 5536. She is the one that always jumped the fence and so on. And you guys were thinking, oh, get rid of her, she's a problem. As you can see, she's not a problem. Turns out to be a very good mother. I think it makes a lot of sense to be patient and observe and not jump very quickly to a conclusion, because later on you might regret this first impression. The animals have a reason for doing something, and I believe, before I understand why, I should not spring into action and do something, like for example getting rid of a cow, which means killing her, because then this would not happen. Somewhere in there is the Panicum maximum, that heat-loving summer grass that we had difficulties establishing. I have not seen it before I let them in, so it's okay that they clear up the area. And the night temperatures are still single-digit, so it might be that it will not show up until that has changed. But now they were getting into May, the temperatures should rise further, and maybe then it will re-emerge. We will see. And if not, we have to throw out the seed again, but maybe then the conditions will be better. And speaking about conditions, we are thinking about trying to till with, not with mules, but with pigs, and throw out seeds. That is not something that will happen in the next few days, because first we need to get the pigs and they have to grow a little bit. But at least we are looking for what is the worst area in each zone. And once we have identified the worst areas, we will then fence them pig safe, the same way as we did with CT1, where we had the miracle of a lot of new plants growing without throwing out any seed. So we might do a similar treatment, but also add some summer grasses and other summer forage in order to jumpstart the process. So this is something that is going on in the background. Nothing to see at the moment, but in a little while that will then happen. So this here is the outflow of the big pond, the one where I talked about in a special video that we might want to make the dam higher and have a spillway much higher, because as you can see there's already a puddle on the other side and it continues over there. That is probably not from overflowing, it is just from the heavy rain that we had. So if this were now higher, then the level of the pond would also be a bit higher, which would be a good thing. So this is something that we might want to do during summer, and that of course would include this area here. So we would need to remove the fence and make a modification, and who knows, maybe we go so far and start this wetland thing that I was talking about a while ago. Because once we bring in the machine here, then of course we can also do a lot more to compensate the initial damage that we need to do. And now you might ask, why am I talking about destroying what is just developing? So it is developing, yes, certainly, but it could be much nicer, and there's something else involved. So you see this animal lane here. Right now it is quite nice, and a while ago pigs ran also down this animal lane and onto the place where they then destroyed everything, which we call CT1. They had re-emerged after their disturbance. And so there is this idea, let me turn around, to make this whole lane pig safe with wire mesh on both sides. And somewhere over there, where this platform is, that used to be a platform where they separated wheat grain from the stems in the past when they were cultivating between the oak trees wheat. That's a thing somewhere in the 1980s or so when they did that. So up there we could have a pig feeding station and water and all the other things, and also a few hens in a chicken coop right next to it for cleanup. So it would be a mid-size, smallish effort to make this whole area pig safe by installing wire mesh on both sides of this animal lane here. So then the pigs would be able to come down here. And now of course we don't want them to run free in all zone A. So the idea is to create enclosures here to the left, use the pigs to root up the soil, as has worked well in CT1, and this time throw in some seed for heat-loving plants. It might be the Panicum maximum that did not establish because the ants ate it and all the birds. So the pigs would be able to help us that, or sun hemp and other things that we are now about to throw out in CT1 and CT2. And that way we would be able to have an area to run a number of pigs, make some advances in the fencing so that it's pig safe for the future, and it could be a nice thing. And then this area could be a constructed wetland because we have a spare solar pump, and the water would come out of this pond, pass through the landscape here, and then return to the pond. So we would have a cycle, and that should then solve the irrigation problem for the heat-loving plants that need to establish themselves and build roots so that they can reach the water table. So maybe over the course of this summer, autumn, winter, and then the next spring, this is something that could establish itself. So it's a thought. We will see whether we are going for it or not. Because of course there's other things to do. But these things that are related to nature, we need to put a little bit more priority on those than on some arbitrary construction project. That job would also be not that big, because as you can see here on this side we already did part of it, and it continues. So basically the left side is already fenced, ready for pigs. So we just need to do the other side. So this here is A17. That is also where in summer we have the green patch right there in the corner, and it doesn't look like it needs additional disturbance. It might need more nutrients, and it will receive that once the cows come in back here. So this area definitely needs to have the pig safe fence here on that side, so that both sides look like here to the left. So this is a slight modification so that they have another part assigned and are a little bit more diligent closer to the trees. This morning we also got a new lamp, the little one here. So This family is now 7 members, and yesterday there were 6. There are no rams in there anymore. We removed them, and now it is happening what we expected. Let's see who else is pregnant. So we now wait that all the ewes have given birth, and then we will see. It was time to come back to this paddock here, and there are a lot of brassicas in there. I want to go closer and check out what is happening with those. And the animal lane is now crossing here the driveway. The driveway is closed so that the animals have priority and can pass, because their water source is down there. So I would think she is going for the grass and the clover that is below the brassicas. They are not very interested in the brassicas, but I hope that they will trample them. And apparently the trampling does happen. This paddock has turned out to be very good. It will take them a while. And now the stocking density is also looking much better. So in here it could be done that we bunch them up more, but I think it's okay. This in total is some 2,500 square meters roughly, without looking it up. So it seems to be okay for this size of a herd. They won't go out for the clean water that is a walking distance away, but they have it right here and they don't mind, because they drink from the top and the sediments are not really harmful. So I would think that they take advantage of that. And soon we will plant vetiver left and right of this seasonal creek here, so that we have more vetiver, so that we can plant more vetiver. This of course also shows up everywhere now. We can cut it down using a machete or another tool when we have the time, or just leave it be. It doesn't really matter. I have now learned that I should not worry so much about unwanted plants. Once the conditions change, they will not show up again. And their seed are everywhere, so it doesn't really matter. I can now basically work my behind off and go after everything and do a lot of labor, or I can just observe and create conditions by setting boundaries, like fences. And then the animals in combination with the plants will do what is right. So I rather explore this version instead of trying to be the smart human who works a lot. Let's be smart instead of working hard. Let's hope I'm not mistaken. This piece here used to be a road. When the big pond was dug, we had the excavator loosen up this area as well. Full of stones, as you might expect. But right now I don't see a lot of stones. I see a lot of forage. So somehow this intervention also changed things for the better. And what I do see is flowers. So I zoom in a bit. You can see that a lot of flowers have shown up. And speaking about the road, this is the actual driveway. And there where the tires won't pass, we have the same forage as left and right. And like I mentioned in another video before, we might end up having a problem with our roads, that they are too wet and become muddy. Not this particular piece here because it drains, because it's on a slope, but elsewhere, that we actually need to add a lot of gravel to maintain our roads. It's a problem that others probably would like to have here in this area. But looks like we are going to have it. Very interesting. This is outside of a paddock. It's just along the road in front of the compound. But what I want to mention is, this is the combination of flowers that we are supposed to have, and we are getting more and more of them. So that is also a positive sign. Somehow the whole place is waking up. So this here is one of the Paulovnia tomentosas that we have at the entrance to the compound. And because of the cold wind that we had, in other areas of Spain it even snowed, this suffered a bit. And now I have been doing some thinking and some research, and now that we have this wire mesh around, I remembered that there is something that you can put inside to protect trees from the cold wind. So that is what we are going to do next time. So we protect the tree with some wire mesh around, and then on the side where the wind comes from, there we add this material. I don't know how it's called. I have an idea. It's brown, and some people use it also in fences to block the view from the road, for example, into their garden, and something like that. And that should solve the problem until those trees are taller and stronger. The sheep sense the current and won't get near this trunk, and therefore the trunk is protected. They also will not jump up and try to reach for the leaves of this tree because they know that they will get an electric shock. So this may not look very professional, but it does the job to protect this young fruit tree. We basically put 2 times the mesh, the net, here to just have a very, very narrow strip that is excluded from the sheep grazing, and that way we can protect the fruit trees from their browsing. Seems to be working well. This area here in our zone B, where we soon will work with pigs, has a lot of dandelions. The seed heads have already let go their seed, so there's only the stems left, except some exceptions here. So that is a positive sign. Of course, you don't want to have dandelions in your lawn, but here this is a different situation, so this is very good. And overall, this is also a very flowery area. It was an area that was very poor, and it had a lot of stones on top. But of course, this is now spring. Let's see how this area will look like during summer. I'm pretty sure it won't be green, but we are working on that. And Mr. Cat continues to follow me around. That is what he likes to do on an afternoon. This area we call B3. It is way beyond the minimum amount of rest time, and I intend to keep it as long as possible off of grazing, because I want the grasses in here go to seed, so that we have more grass seed in here, and then hopefully the next autumn most of these plants will then produce, or most of the seed will then produce new plants. And here in the back part, this seems to be working, because that is all new. It wasn't here before. We had the cows in here and a few times the horses, mostly the horses. And their treatment seems to be working very well. The horses have been in here, but there's still a lot, and I hope either this or at different places where we also have it, it will go to seed. I want to see the flowers. This is now several hours later. At first glance, not a lot has changed. There is still very tall forage, but they might think otherwise, because they are not so much interested in the brassicas, but in the grasses. And what we see is the brassicas. Tomorrow morning they will be out of here and go to a different paddock. According to our system, this will be A11, and there they will mob graze in little strips that we will manage throughout the day to get some more animal impact there. And as you can see, it is all about the grass. That is tastier. Some has wandered out over there, but that's okay, that's the animal lane. That is where they are supposed to walk up and down. And of course there is some grass, so it's okay that they also graze this off. This animal here, this animal lane, is a little bit wider than it needs to be. It's not because of that fallen tree. It is because this should become a gathering point, because over there in the compound, when we get around to finish our sorting facility, then this is part of that. So the animals will gather here in front of it, and therefore this is pretty wide. And at the moment this is an extension of the paddock where they are in. And of course they take advantage of all the forage that is available here. And this lone cow ventured out very far, but that's okay, because she feeds herself on all this lovely forage here. Here on the other side we have the bottle calf Maribel, and she is also foraging and grazing, which is what a little cow is supposed to do. and she has plenty of food in here. She doesn't like to go to the other calves. She is now a human-focused animal. I'm pretty sure when she's big, she will follow us around the same way like she's doing now. Someone was asking about wine. Yes, that was our plan. You see these very thick wooden fence posts? We have this idea, but it's on the other side, to plant wine so that it climbs up on this very high wire mesh. And we will do this, but first we need to finish up some other things. And when there's only fence posts to scratch on, they will destroy the fence posts. This here is the area where we wanted to plant the vine. We have the thick fence posts. They used to be beams in a structure, and we did not have the time to actually set them and straighten out the fence. The wire mesh will be the same. It's just like any other place. And the future of this area is that when those 3 Paulownia tomentosa trees have grown, then this might be a nice sitting area. And you get some shade from the vine because the vine is in the south. And at some point you can also enjoy the grapes. That was it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. In the next video you are going to see us bring out the seed. And there's also an update on the Paulownias and a few other things. Please come back in a few days. Until then, take care.